So we're in the middle of, well, we're getting to the end of Boundary Month. November is all about boundaries. So the last few weeks we've talked about, what are boundaries? Why would you even want to have any? What types of boundaries are there in our lives that we can sort of set? So today I thought we'd go over a few little tips on how to set good boundaries and where to even start. Before we get into that, though, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nancy. I'm a relationship and stress coach. I help women who are stuck in a challenging relationship, whether it's with a spouse or a child or an in-law or somebody at work or a friend, whatever that might be, or even, that most important relationship with yourself. Just to bring more clarity and connection and calm into that relationship so we can experience it with more ease and more joy and just have more fun. So, back to the boundaries. So my first tip for why you would want to, how you can set good boundaries is just to stop and think on it before you even start. Think about what you believe, what your priorities are, what you value in life, where there are going to be certain areas in your life that you're going to want to draw hard lines, and there are going to be certain areas in your life where you're going to have these kind of loose little, boundaries that sometimes occasionally might be crossed or not, but it's not that as important for you in that area. But the only way to understand for yourself where these priorities are is for you to sit down and think about what's important to you, because what's important to you is not going to be the same as what's important to me. We're all different. So the first thing to do is sit down and think about what really matters. And then the second thing is to start small, because the last thing you want to do is get completely overwhelmed trying to set these boundaries, especially if you haven't, kind of new to the whole concept of doing this. You don't want to get overwhelmed. You want to start small. Think about, what might be an easier place in your life to do this, where you can have just a small win so you can feel some success in setting a boundary and go forward from there. So that could be something like maybe you've overcommitted to volunteering with different organizations. People ask you and you have a hard time saying no to volunteering. I have my friend's mom who, when she first retired, of course, people were asking, oh, can you help with this? Can you help with that? Can you help with the other thing? And I remember before she retired, she was all worried she was going to be so bored in retirement. And I talked to her about 6 months later, and she was exhausted because she had completely overcommitted. She couldn't say no to anybody, and was having a really hard time with it. So maybe that might be the sort of thing you could start with, of where you might be able to start to draw lines and start to say no and start to set up your boundaries around your time. Number 3 is start soon. The sooner you start, the better. And so sometimes, especially in a relationship, the sooner you start in a relationship and set up those clear boundaries, those clear expectations of what you expect, what's important to you, sharing all of that information, it's going to be easier to maintain them, for one thing. You'll have more clear expectations, so the communication will be easier between you. And if things go south, everybody understands that there were just different priorities. And so, there's less hurt and confusion down the road. So that's good. So the next, that kind of leads me into my next one too. If you're talking about a relationship, you need to tell people when they cross your boundaries. Tell them what they are. First of all, communicate that. We can't expect people to just, telepathically know what we expect from them or what we expect from ourselves. We need to share that with them. And if we're hurt or upset because a line has been crossed, we need to share that as well. So, for example, you might have a friend who's constantly calling you at work or constantly leaving you messages, and you just don't have time to reply, and it's a bit of a hassle, and you're feeling bad about it. You want to reply, but this is a workspace, not a social space. So you might be able to say something to them like, hey, I can see that you've been trying to get a hold of me during the day when I'm at work, but I need you to know that, I try to leave those types of messages for later when I have time to reply, because work, is, I have a lot to do. I have a lot going on there, and I can't really be replying to emails. So, I'm sorry, but I will try and get back to you when I can. Just letting them know that you've put a boundary around your work time. And then the last thing is, I just think it's so important to be respectful of other people's boundaries. Now, hopefully they've communicated them to you, but we can't really expect other people to respect our boundaries if we're not respecting other people's boundaries, right? So you don't want to always be the person giving in a relationship, but you also don't want to be the person always taking from the relationship. So you want to make sure you have that mutual respect, that give and take back and forth. So that's it. So, think on it, set your priorities, start small, start soon. Make sure you share, tell people what your priorities are, and be respectful of other people's boundaries when you're going through this whole process. So hopefully those are some tips that can help you out a bit. And if you could use some help setting your boundaries, then let's chat. There's a link underneath here to we can set up a clarity call and talk about how we might be able to work together if that's something that's of interest to you. Or if you just have questions, I'm always happy to answer questions about what we've talked about today. Be sure to get your downloads, your freebies down there, 7 simple ways to de-stress, and there's also a meal planner and a grocery list template for you. Save some time during the week. We're always rushing around. Time is if you have boundaries around your time, then that might be a helpful thing for you too. So that's it for me for today, and I hope I see you again soon. Thanks for listening. Bye now.